This is Janet, and today I am creating a mixed media piece for the Rinea design team, and we are partnering also with Creative Embellishments. And so what I'm showing you here is mainly the creative process to making a mixed media piece. And what I'm starting with doing here is starting to create a background by burnishing rubber stamp ink onto the background. Using cardstock, and I am using the blues and the greens from the ink pad from I think it's Color Block is the brand. And then the next thing I am doing is just dropping some Nuvo shimmer powder onto the surface and spritzing it with a little bit of water. And so to continue to build up the background here, I am using my Rinea stamp block and a rubber stamp using the same ink from the ink pad and randomly stamping it along the background. And then the next thing I am doing is still building up layer with the background. I am taking some gold paint and a paintbrush and using my Rinea stamping block again. I'm using that as the edge to flick the gold paint to create some gold flecks onto that background. And now I am spraying it with some iridescent mist just to give it an overall kind of misty, reflective surface. And here I am just trying out that piece from Creative Embellishments to see how it's going to fit on that background. And I'm also using my pieces of Rinea foil just to kind of figure out where things are going to fit on that piece. I originally cut out black and gold Starstruck Rinea foil to use on this piece, and I'm just placing it randomly to see how it will work, and what I end up using is just the gold foil. So now I'm taking the birdcage element and I am going to paint it with some kind of white or ivory chalk paint, and then using my heat tool here to dry it. And I have used my heat tool in multiple steps in this process, even with the backgrounds, but I'm not showing you that on the video because it's not really fun to watch someone just dry or heat set elements. So I only left a few in just to show you that I am speeding up the process by using a heat tool. And then once again, I am checking its placement on the background to kind of see what size this piece is going to end up. And I used my paper trimmer to trim the background piece down to size. And so now I'm starting to really finalize in my mind what the shape of this piece is going to be. And so now once that I have that, once again I'm piecing the the different parts down just to kind of get an idea. And I thought maybe I wanted to have like a bottom edge with the gold foil paper, but you'll see in the end that doesn't happen, but that the gold leaves do kind of end up in those areas. And now I'm looking for a rubber stamp that I think will work well with the background, and I'm going to use those same inked pieces, or excuse me, that same ink set to stamp on the background, and I feel like I need to build up that background again, and you'll see that I'll be stamping it again after another step here in the future. So I pull out that that decorative piece, kind of looks like wind, and I'm going to stamp some blue into the background using the same ink pad from the very beginning with the Color Block ink set. And once again, I'm using my Rinea block to stamp that. And here I'm using Mod Podge, and what I have done is I have um, printed out a poem, The Cage Bird by Maya Angelou, and I have printed it out onto tissue paper, and I've torn up the different parts of it, and I am now randomly placing that on top of my background piece. So the poem is readable and it's all in the correct order. However, it's not placed in a linear fashion, and so I'm going to give that a coat of Mod Podge over the top to seal it in place. And once again, I use my heat tool here to dry the surface faster so I can continue working. And now I'm going to start to finalize my piece. I have fussy cut out the shape of the bird to fit into the cage. Um, and there's a little piece that needed to be pulled off of there. And now I'm adding glue, and I'm going to start finalizing this piece by putting down the Creative Embellishments piece that I've painted and foiled, and I'm just gluing the back of it here and placing it onto the background. And then for the last step, I am going to add in the Rinea foil pieces of the leaves in place. And so that kind of ends my creative process on how I went from the very beginning and kind of worked through with somewhat of an idea in my mind of what I wanted, but ultimately really just creating the piece and kind of deciding along the way what the end result is going to look like. So I hope you enjoyed watching this and seeing how I kind of worked through my own creative process in building up layering for the background and the textures. And the piece of the poem didn't even come in until halfway through the project, and so that I added that to the background, and I think it really solidified the piece. So thanks for watching, and I hope to see you next month with 2 more creative projects using Rinea foil.